So let's do some quick, simple play. I've got my layer highlighted here. I've locked it so I don't mess anything up by accident. I'm just going to go to New Adjustment Layer. This means that any adjustments I make are not permanent. They can be easily changed. And let's just do a fun invert. So this now has inverted my colors. Let's just get rid of that to the exact opposite of what it would be. I will File, export as a JPEG, and that will save onto my computer. I can choose the quality and size here, and that's saving to my computer. Let's just hide that layer really quick and try something else. So I can go back down to my layer adjustments, and I want to posterize. Here you see I have properties that I can play with further. So how many levels will this posterize into? It's set here at 3. If I move it up or down, it will change essentially how many levels of color. Now this is a very simple image, so actually it looks to me like it would be most interesting if the number was closer to the bottom. I'll just close that and let's save that also. Export as a JPEG. So I've got 2 experiments already, and I've only been recording for about 30 seconds. I will hide that. And the last thing I will play with is threshold. Let's just see what this button does. So again, if I customize this, play with it a little bit more, I can see all kinds of strange, interesting things happening. Now, the good thing with this program is you can literally say, what happens if? If you don't like it, you get rid of it. So let's just delete the threshold layer. That's hideous. If I want to show both of my layers at the same time, might be a bit confusing or interesting. Now I've already saved these images, so I can just delete that. Last thing I'm going to show you on my layer adjustments is these options over here. Now there's a lot to go through and you'll just have to experiment a little bit. But the biggest options for today might be hue and saturation. So this will allow you to change the overall hue, which is the fancy word for color of your image. Saturation, how concentrated or deep is that color? Less saturated, black and white. More saturated, whoa, a little bit too much. And finally, lightness and darkness. I'll just hide that. And we'll show you brightness and contrast, something that we're maybe all familiar with using Instagram in this generation. So this is really good for some fine edits overall. But what if I want to make just the shadows darker or just the highlights lighter? So I'll show you how to do that. Let's delete this guy. I don't need it anymore. And I'm actually going to go to curves. So this is a graphic of where the tones are on my screen. I can select shadows, so this will be changing the shadows, and I can change the shape of the curve to make the image lighter or darker in some sections. So it's like a graph. You've got your shadows here, darkest on the bottom, lightest at the top. And the further you go along, we have shadows, midtones, highlights. Now we can add as many little fine-tuning points as we want to our work. I can switch over to highlights here, so I can just kind of change the curve a little bit more. Voila. So this is a more advanced way of changing the tones in your image to really focus on the specific highlights, shadows, or midtones.